Hello. So new additions to the tank here. You can see them swimming there. Yes, those are dwarf African frogs. And I did get a couple of them to go in this tank. Now, you might be sitting there going, hey, wait a second, buddy. You had pea puffers in that tank. Well, not anymore. The pea puffers had just reached the point where I felt they were just too limiting in terms of what they could do for the tank. And just giving us the option to, you know, just really add other things and try and expand with it. And the pea puffers were kind of fun, you know, and they have interesting, curious personalities to an extent. But I actually found that I was enjoying the Cory catfish that I have in my tank a lot more than them. And they were a lot more useful because they have done a wonderful job in cleaning up this mess of a substrate that I have. So I just felt that I was getting a lot more out of the Cory cats, and unfortunately I did, you know, really start just watching the fin nipping like a hawk, and unfortunately there was more going on than I thought, so it was a choice basically between the Cory catfish and getting some other cool things for the tank, or just basically pulling everything out, letting the pea puffers have their way, and then being stuck with them and not having anything that could clean the substrate for me because they're very messy eaters, and it was causing some serious bacterial problems in the tank. So anyways, the kids at one point or another, they really wanted an axolotl, but the logistics of putting one in a 20 long, I would have had to completely, you know, rescape the tank, pull all the gravel out of it and everything else. And so we came across these fully aquatic dwarf African frogs, which are totally good in a peaceful community tank. So you don't have to, you know, completely get rid of all your fish and various other things that you want to put in the tank with these dwarf African frogs. You just have to make sure you're not putting them in with aggressive fish or something that's potentially going to treat them as a meal. So anyways, so I got rid of the pea puffers today, and it so happened that they had some dwarf African frogs in, so I did get 2 of those. And in addition to a few other things that I'll do a video on separately here. And just the kids have been really excited to have them. They really enjoy having them for their tank. And yeah, thus far, you know, they've been just kind of going around exploring. They don't really bother anything, and it's fun to watch them kind of, you know, dart up to the surface, grab a breath of fresh air, since they do need to breathe periodically. So if you are looking at getting one, you do need to make sure that they have access to the surface so that they can breathe, because they do need to have that. But, you know, they're just really interesting characters. And they add kind of a different dimension to the tank other than just fish. So this was something that was really fun to do and should be an exciting and entertaining experience here for the family. Thus far, you know, everybody's been in here just kind of watching them and just seeing how they move around and everything, and they're, you know, just, they're more active than I thought they would be. They aren't just sitting there on the bottom like I was worried that they were going to. They actually do move around a bit more and change location and stuff, so you do get some activity out of them. And of course, the nice thing about the dwarf African frogs is you don't have to worry about having, you know, the amphibious setup where you have, you know, half water, half land, and so basically you have to dedicate a tank to an amphibian. You don't have to do that with these guys. They're fully good to go in an aquarium, as I mentioned, with the only caveat there being that you make sure that they have access to the surface so that they can breathe air, which most people do. You know, you always leave your tank water level just a little bit down so that if you have anything that needs to breathe air, it can do so, as well as helping create some oxygen there for the tank. So anyways, these guys are just fun little guys to have around, and it's been interesting to see their interaction. The thing that they interact most with, of course, is the Cory cat, since they're both there on the bottom most of the time. And the Cory catfish and the frogs have kind of startled each other a couple of times, but they don't bother each other, really. It's just more of a question of them just, you know, not really sure what to do with each other at this point. The Cory catfish have been much happier since the pea puffers have been gone, more active, so yes, there is that as well. And anyways, just it's should be a fun and interesting addition to the tank. This is the first time I've ever had frogs of any kind, so I've done some research into them. Generally speaking, you know, you want to go with stuff kind of like what I was feeding the pea puffers. You go in with bloodworms, brine shrimp, and you know, the standard amphibian mixed foods as well if you want to, as supplemental. So it will be an interesting addition to the tank just because it adds more of a than just a straight aquarium function. It adds a little bit of a, you know, the amphibious side of things, even though technically they're fully aquatic. So anyways, this should just be a great addition to the tank, and it'll be fun to track and monitor their progress and just see how they interact with everything else in the tank. And that's all I've got, and thanks for watching.